Welcome, Ecom Logistics Nation. We're thrilled to be coming to you live from the heart of Atlanta at Modex 2024, right here at the Georgia World Congress Center. A shout out to our sponsor, G&P Construction, your go-to provider for comprehensive turnkey material handling and solutions in both logistics and commercial needs. We are truly grateful for the support.
I think it's a really good partnership between business, just the operations, the strategy organization, and the technology division to come together and say, okay, what are the goals we are trying to achieve? Mm-hmm. And there is no one right answer. It's you got to take everyone's perspective, pull it together, and there is a capital equation as well, because the moment you move there, you are going to subscription versus it being a different model that you're used to. And the business and strategy has to come together. Again, that's just one example of that. And then there is all of this AI, and it's also the part of how do I become unique? What are we doing for myself, my operations, my execution, my supply chain planning that is unique to us and as a bit of our secret sauce, right? Like that you can control.
Welcome, Ecom Logistics Nation. Now we are thrilled to be joined by Marie at Blue Yonder. Marie, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
A Blue Yonder person.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love
I'm
it.
looking forward to it. Because we bring on the other guys quite a lot, and like we would love to have a conversation with Blue Yonder, understand what's happening in your universe, as well as your perspective on the market, solution, and oh, by the way, what do you do for Blue Yonder?
Sure. So I'm Marie Jonkman. I sit at the crossroads of global industry strategy for logistics service providers and sit under the execution umbrella. So that sits at the crossroad of product strategy in addition to industry strategy. So we cover planning all the way through execution to reverse logistics and how that can better serve our clients.
Wow. Okay. And is it from a consultative perspective to the clients themselves, or is it the systems, the pieces, the modules that go together to serve the execution pieces?
Yeah, we prefer to look at it. Industry is always strategy-based and consultative. I sit under the sales organization to where we support our clients. So they ask us, how do I change? What do I change? How can I enable and use what I already have? What's happening in the industry? What niches should I serve? This isn't working. What does this look like? So strategy and business strategy really floats across clients to do that. So it's not just solutions-based. We believe in being an engineering-first company, right? If the products works in the solutions, it sells themselves. But it's a little bit more to that with strategy. It's literally looking at where you sit, what customers you serve, what service levels do you have? What are you trying to be? And how your missions and values will come across in those.
That's amazing.
It's a fun job.
What a perfect segue then into, listen, we see a lot of companies now really exploring a lot of what you just talked about. Like, hey, I have these problems I need to solve. I have to increase my throughput. I have to solve for labor availability and labor costs. So would just love your perspective. What are you seeing in the market? What's exciting you?
Yeah. So what's exciting me is people were asking about end-to-end last year. They were asking, what do I do with this excess capacity? They were asking, how can I plan when my CapEx and budgets come through? Mm-hmm. How can I hit on the growth areas? What am I doing that's working? How does AI and machine learning hurt or help it? What do I do with this data? So help me. It is becoming much more, which excites me being an operator, a training and learning year. You have folks coming to the booth. What is the difference between generative AI and AI? How do I enable a yard solution and what does that really do? What's this whole thing in the cloud, in Snowflake and data? We've always had data for 30 years, have we not? We've had tons of data. What do I do next? So what's really exciting me is the idea and thoughts of three things. They're exploring beyond the four walls. Automation and robotics is already here, starting to be table stakes. They're trying to solidify where do I use that, but also data, machine learning, and insights. How do I use them to improve the operation, my labor availability, my downtime? How do I connect all of this to my transportation, to my yard, to my planning department? Talk to me about it. It's very exploratory and curious. People are very, very mindful where they put their money, but it's open. I feel the change.
Yeah. But I would assume like a lot of that is just the software providers given the access, right? Like it's not going to be independently other than the giants, mega giants, the mall brands, etc., right? That are going to make investment of that nature independently by bringing in a layer of software that's going to allow for orchestration, be it multi-physical asset orchestration or be it machine learning being layered on top of your operational data to be able to do other things. And oh, by the way, generative AI, I'm still waiting for the right use case in warehouse. I don't see one exist at this point other than building some SOPs and giving some training. But yeah, I think it would be the software players, right? Like the operators are investing in the solutions that provide them that access, right?
Yes. But what they're also doing is, think about it. I grew up in operations. We built some of these best in class at the time products in IT.
Yeah.
Even though I came from operations, I used those. Blood, sweat, and tears. But the evolution in software now is changing. It's not just we're just pushing buy this now and buy this. It's, hey, I've seen a heavy optimization in my space of carriers. I've seen bankruptcies. I've seen regional LSPs get bought. I used to be known for X. Is this really what I should continue doing? The conversation is changing to where talk to me about the niches.
Right.
We kind of want to go into e-commerce, but we're known as a B2B. We kind of have this dedicated fleet, but maybe I shouldn't own assets. How does that work? So software and Nacer, I see the change. It's not just now go to the cloud, now go to SaaS, now do this. It's more, hold on a minute. It's much more business focused. The business is having a seat at the table beyond the CIO. Explain to me the immediate benefits, but explain to me how this works on the 2 and 3 year journey for our missions and values. It's not just a send some guys or girls in and do a demo, and here's the latest thing, and you can add it to your platform. It's more, how does this work and orchestrate for my people and my values?
Absolutely.
Totally different.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's different strokes in organizations, right? But I look at it from the other side where I felt like IT never has the seat at the table in some of this decision making where it's always a menu item, right? To a certain degree and lots of large organizations. And then you have the other side where IT is overbearing that comes in and essentially goes, oh, this is the solution because it fits all of these, and again, very important cybersecurity needs, et cetera, right? And check boxes. And that's how you end up going down that particular route, right? I think it's a really good partnership between business, which is the operations, the strategy organization, and the technology division to come together and say, okay, what are the goals we are trying to achieve?
Mm-hmm.
And there is no one right answer. It's you got to take everyone's perspective, pull it together and say, all right, cloud is critical. Why? Because nobody wants to do on-prem anymore. But when I require high latency execution on warehouse automation floor, I need cloud with edge computing that's actually on the floor that actually allows me to do that, right? And then layer on, okay, why am I going to go to cloud is because I get more extensibility out of it, a solution of that nature. And is it just cloud by saying I'm going to take that old solution and throw it into a server on someone else's data farm? And then you go, yeah, that our data center. Is that really cloud, or are we talking about a true cloud native application that is extensible, and there is a capital equation as well, because the moment you move there, you are going to subscription versus it being a different model that you're used to. And the business and strategy has to come together. Again, that's just one example of that. And then there is all of this AI, and it's also the part of how do I become unique? Because if it's a piece of software that everyone else can purchase, how am I unique? What are we doing for myself, my operations, my execution, my supply chain planning that is unique to us, and as a bit of a secret sauce, right? Like that you can control. So yeah, now very interesting subject on that.
It's I agree with you. So that's where industry strategy and the niches come in. being an operator, and you're talking about you're a warehouse guy. First thing, we meet the client SLAs or we're not in business.
Yeah.
Right? So to your point, new functionality, upgrades, instant upgrades, cloud strategy. How does it benefit me and my SLA so we can continue the business?
Right.
But the curiosity you're talking about of studying the niches that have great keggers.
Yeah.
Do I want to be this is, hey, how does the cloud and strategy enable me? But what's my secret sauce? We have many clients. We have no problem white labeling.
Yeah.
We love, to be sit front and center with them, but let's talk about what you want to be. You started out in cold chain. I sit on many customer meetings to where, to your point, the chief strategy officer, the CIO, even the COO has a seat at the table in planning to say, hold on a minute. What do we all want to be? How does this help us? And again, if you have very, very high labor costs and you need to drop funds to the bottom line to stay in business, you know what that solution sell is going to be. And that's okay. I need this in 3 months implemented. Here's what we need to stay in business. The business has changed. Help me. So that's where that consultation comes in to say, here's what we can give you now, whether it's a microservice or an approach and you're going to stay on-prem. But then let's talk about it's not a dump and run. We'll talk to you next year. Take care. No. We are in a training organization. We are a partner. It's a partnership. You don't just call Anne-Marie when you want a sale. Half of our clients I used to work for, by the way, in the logistics service provider space. You can call me and get an opinion. Again, you can keep some of your secret sauce that you built for years and we can improve it. So it's really being a partner, because if we all haven't noticed, this tech, and I think about what I'm seeing now, I wish I had some of this on my floor and with my drivers back in the day. It is changing fast. So you can have 5 and 10-year plans. Really look 18 to 24 months out and continuously have that cycle. It's a really fun time to be involved in this and change, right? Never thought I would see this much robotics this fast in the warehouse.
Exactly. And the good news now is the direction, this combination of, again, operational practices are still the same, right? Like the foundations haven't changed as much, but you see physical hardware, the accessibility to the hardware. On the other side, software becoming more flexible than it used to be back in the days. And it used to be rigid back in the day. Now that there is more of an ecosystem type approach where it's, I should call it a little bit plug and play-esque. Operators now have independent ability to go and try something new out very easily without having to go through the chain of command and, approval, and not also have to do a large investment from a capital perspective to do a pilot of some sort, right? So I think that combination of having a modern platform application that's running your supply chain is what's going to make this even more exciting, right? If you're running something old, you're still going to be stuck in the rut of like trying to figure out how to make it all happen and talk to IT and we don't have the time. It's going to take a long time.
It's on the roadmap. It's number 19.
And I know it's really hard to have that conversation to say, hey, we need to move to a more modern platform. But that conversation you should be having, not because it's just a platform from an execution perspective. It's also because if you want accessibility to a lot of stuff that's on the floor, it's going to be much easier for you to be able to adopt some of the hardware, some of the changes, some of the safety equipment that's out there now to be able to integrate into these platforms.
One of the easiest use cases I thought about, not just warehouse management and billing, I thought, gosh, the amount of not just indirect downtime on the floor at times, but capturing the out of scope and making sure the billing to your customer is accurate and not a 14-man or woman job at the end of the week and the end of the month. So you're doing a P&L review with the CFO saying, hey, well, what's not in there yet is indirectly this other 28,000, right? For example, for one DC. What this is enabling, and it's not just a task because you rely on the user to scan the task.
Exactly.
It's more so enabling that, to your point, to where we truly capture what's happening. So you can have frank discussions with your customers about, this is what X vendor is doing on inbound receipt. Here's your defects per case. Not everybody wants to open the cases on inbound every piece. You know how much money that would cost? But it's really getting a true direction on the floor, capturing it, knowing it instantly with the data going up, with reporting. And I don't mean a Vercel report that 14 other people look at and we filter.
Exactly.
So you can see for me from a technology, it's just really exciting to make that next step. The next piece, and I know you're a warehouse guy, let's talk about the back office and all the people in the logistics office and all the carriers that stated they dropped off their pups in their LTL trailers. Are they really in the yard at peak for us to load?
Exactly.
Guess what? Having a yard solution now enabled by cameras, you know the exact time at peak with your clients to where you can report factually by video. This is actually what was dropped off at this time, and this is actually what was pulled out of the door onto the yard in this slot at this time. There's no, let's kind of have a jamboree conference call. We're all being accountable. So why I'm so excited about this and where we're going is using that operations background and technology, and that's what's coming out in the products. It's getting rid of the waste and taking an operational excellence approach.
I completely agree.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Good times.
Cool.
Good times.
Yeah, your passion for some of the problems I've lived 20 years trying to solve is amazing. And that billing piece is just, I mean, from a 3PL perspective, you're right. It's a small army of people trying to scramble to get invoices out by the 10th of the month. And it's very manual, very Excel driven, even if you have the most
correct,
advanced technology. So that's awesome. I want to leverage your experience and your insights to what so many people are talking about today, which is AI. And, would love your perspective on where we are on the hype cycle, what you're seeing, what you're maybe excited about. I mean, we still feel it's pretty early days as far as applications and use cases and problems it's solving, but would just love your insights and perspective as it relates to supply chain.
Let's go.
And I will be frank, how I was found and recruited back in the day at a third-party logistics company that was now sold and has now went bankrupt. I used the I2 products, Modeler and Strategist, right? We still have those today. There was always machine learning and AI in those products. So I knew as a logistics engineer and solutions provider responding to RFPs, very enabled activity. I could group orders, sailing schedules, once a week, twice a week. Do you want to consolidate shipments, right? Whole mode optimization was always there. Imagine now, instead of somebody like me when I was in my 20s, sitting in my desk doing that. Now, with machine learning and the data, looking at AI, looking at those use cases, you can configure it to where when you run your operations or you have an analytics and planning team, those use cases in the config are already in there. They're capturing, you just lost $7,000 this week because we went out 4 times a week with expedite shipments and nobody looked at them. That's all sunken cost. You don't even have to lose it to recover it.
True.
So those config areas and seeing the data and analytics and generative AI, you can put those in your configuration on how you choose to run your.
But where does generative come into that?
Yeah. So
I mean, that sounds like machine learning.
Yeah. No. And I agree with you. So where generative AI comes with that is the whole piece together end to end. And I'll get there. When I talked about end to end solutions, and again, 2 years into software, you looked at reverse logistics, you looked at planning in the execution space. So imagine now I'm planning labor in the warehouse and I'm running overtime into the second shift.
Right.
But now transportation has 60% of my budget on the P&L. I don't care. I'm running the warehouse. Get these orders and loads done. They can book extra trucks. Where the generative AI comes in the scenarios is taking the use cases together of transportation, looking at configuration, load planning, the staffing and the orders to say, hold on a minute. Here are the SLAs for these orders that we need to get out. Here's the expedites that actually don't have to run tomorrow. It's the transportation and the warehouse management teams working together, and there's some theoreticals of what you want to do. That's what's different.
So you're saying that's because generative is more to do with ask and you shall receive type of thing, right? It's a prompting tool at this point, at least, which is I ask, it's a chat bot. I'm a finance person. At the end of the day, it's like, hey, what happened to this $7,000? It's going to give that
And it
back to me.
tells you.
But the fundamentals behind being able to create all of that connection of data, it's still a complex data model creation of machine learning. That's what, and it's analytics, but it's analytics taken to the next level to then feed into the generative model that can give you the answers, right?
And continue to learn.
Right.
But if you take it to the next level and you're implementing and going to a platform in a new cloud off the bat, what we used to not be able to do when I responded to RFPs at a logistics provider is I would run the common 50 use cases that I knew. It's more so getting ahead of that before we have the implementation to say, hey, I had a look at your data. Let's kind of talk about in the new world how you want to run. Never had that before. And I agree with you. I'm talking not high in the sky, but very new, but changing and enabling that are common and practical use cases to get ahead of, right? And how I look at it, and again, 2 years into software, we're feeding the beast, not just machine learning and it gets smarter. We're feeding the cases, like you said, going back and improving. And you don't have to wait till next year's budget review to get that.
No, I completely agree.
It's a different world from where I was raised.
Yeah, these things are going to definitely change how we do operations. The accessibility to these tools, and I'm not just talking enterprises. What I'm really excited about is that really large mid-market of 3PLs and, just warehouse operators and them getting access to this level of application access to AI or whatnot, right? Like, that's where it's starting to get super fun because the big dogs, right? Like they got data scientists on their payrolls. They are always looking at that stuff, right? Again, are they really investing in the right place? But it is access to that, let's call it the middle America, mainstream enterprise, 3PL type organizations, brands, folks that are running, they are little business that's still got 150,000 square feet of a facility that needs optimization. That's where I'm really excited about the application of this tech. And then a lot of learning from the big guys.
Well, you picked on my heart here for a minute.
Yeah.
That's where I started. My loyalty, blue collar. I started out loading trucks at the Big Brown, only woman on the twilight shift, Hodgkins Park.
I can imagine.
So what you're talking about is those smaller logistics companies. Many have been purchased, fulfillment. Others, people are filling in the niches. There is still a mid-tier to where access to these use cases, access to a platform, access to microservices, there are a place for them too, right? It's not just the Armstrong top 25.
Exactly.
Global. I agree with you.
And what has to happen, and it will happen, and I spoke about this at Manifest, right? These technologies don't need to be technologies that it should be like, we just started using cell phone, right? Like one day there was, a cell phone and then there was a smartphone and we all just evolved into it and it became so like second nature to us. Stuff that we are talking about, that's all behind the scenes and strategic decision making. But for the user, their quality of life, their ability to execute, it's just got to be man and machine combination where it's just going to happen. And we are starting to see that in many other places right now. A perfect example, I love talking about this, is how Microsoft has interwoven their generative AI tool into the entire Microsoft ecosystem of your emails. It will write up a response to an email contextually, looking at all the threads of conversation that has happened. It will look at your company's data and build a PowerPoint deck for QBRs that are 70% accurate. I mean, that's just amazing. But you don't need to learn something. It's just a button that actually makes something happen. And I think that's That's how we have to do it as well in the industry. We are not going to go sit there and explain to them how machine learning, that they don't care.
Correct.
Right? Like for them, it just needs to do just a little bit better to make their quality of life better, rather than sitting there and creating a spreadsheet, for 3 days. If I could press a button, do a little bit of editing and have my billing out in half my day, and then I can focus on the rest of the good stuff that I need in my life. I think that's where the quality of life enrichment ends up happening. But it will happen where it's got to just slide in and just make it easy. So,
well, I agree with you. It's change management.
Mm-hmm.
How many times on the floor have we told the operators, follow the system? I've produced banners upon banners. Trust the process. Do you know what we need to trust? We need to go in the Gemba and trust our people. We need to make it easy. We need to make it safe so they can go home to their families. It's the interface. What you're talking about is, how many times have we bastardized wave templates for clients?
Oh, I do it like literally.
I haven't done it.
I will start with a template, and the next day the template will change. And then by the time the week is out post implementation, I can tell you that none of the templates look the same. I created 35 templates, but now my production users are only using the 3 that they want to. And then they find their janky ways of doing stuff, which is amazing, by the way.
It is.
But they'll figure out a janky way to do it.
And that is my point. So some of those folks are very crafty and very smart. So if you mentor your people, now maybe they're doing a different job. And it's nothing to do with college. It's to do with investment and enrichment.
Yeah.
You know all those OSHA recordables on the floor?
Mm-hmm.
Now we have more robots and automation. It's a reduction of a forklift maybe injuring an employee. So this is coming. And I would really say it's more here. But we need to treat people with respect who have been doing the roles for 20 or 30 years. And the software should enable their life. It's just fluid. You communicate why, you communicate the change. And then if people want to learn more, they come back and we can talk about it. Maybe they want different careers. If you do that right, not just making the technology ease to your point of, hey, you're using machine learning now. What do you mean, boss?
I don't care.
Correct. I don't care. Are we getting overtime this week?
Exactly.
Guess what? You can have them almost plan their year when we went back to the generative AI, the machine learning and other, and say, hey, here's what the forecast kind of looks like with the internal market indicators versus our client. Let's talk about it. It's transparency.
I agree.
I love that you brought up the people because I think at times they're forgotten.
And I love the fact that you brought up user experience, right? Like, so, okay, up until now, we had the green screen RF terminals on the RF, right? Now we have moved beyond. So that thing, like, follow the process. Think about who the users are. These people are from their day-to-day experience. They have this phone in front of them that's telling them exactly how things are done. And there are some really good apps on there. Why are they good apps? Is because they were designed with a level of gamification in perspective, right? There is, because the workforce requires that, but it's also the experience, the psychology behind how a user uses an application. So bringing in more of that experience design and keeping control over that flow, I think you're just going to drive productivity, make it fun for folks. We have so much more we can do in this logistics, specifically the folks on the floor. I don't think many people have explored gamification yet in execution in high throughput environments. I think it could drive a lot of goodness and richness out of that. And that drives, again, it would be dependent on the experience design that we do. And yeah, for the users, it's the same thing. I might turn on TikTok, and I have deleted TikTok, but I might turn on TikTok. There's a reason why I'll say, oh, just for 2 minutes, and it's 30 minutes later that I'm still flipping through it. That is gamification. It's that short dopamine hit. If you can do the same thing from a labor perspective, where make it fun, it's so much. So it's not even all of this high-end tech like cloud and AI and whatnot. Like, bring it a level below, and like things we already have that can be put in place. I love this space and how much there is opportunity in here. Sorry.
I love the passion as well. And the throughput for the day, how exciting people are to go home, that we didn't just ship the orders, we shipped them accurate. We captured all the billing. I did my job. That is a basic fundamental of going to work. I went home safe to my family. Technology should deploy that. It should enable it for people, and it should be easy. So it's not just the screens, it's the trigger, it's the motivation, right? I get to work with robots now. This is a little awkward.
Yeah.
The thing is standing next to me. How does this work? Am I going to be out of a job? It's the communication. It's the change, but it's also changing in terms of enabling your future warehouse workers, fleet drivers. This is what's happening. Let's talk about the career path. You have to change and be transparent.
Makes complete sense.
It does.
Love it.
That was absolutely magical. And for those that are listening, we're on day 3 of Modex in the morning, and Anna Marie is bringing this energy and passion that just imagine what she's like every single day. This is truly awesome, Anna Marie. So
thank you.
As we wrap up, want to give you the opportunity to share with the audience where they could go to follow you. How do they connect with you? Obviously Blue Yonder, everyone knows how to hit the website and everything. But if they want to reach out to you, connect with you, learn more about what you're doing. And as we talked about before the episode, you post a lot of content in various publications. So please share.
Sure. It was my pleasure. So I'm Marie Jonkman on LinkedIn, and I believe the hashtag's A Jonkman Dynamic Leader. So just Google me, reach out. Happy to help. It was my pleasure being here today.
Awesome.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Thank you so much. And a special thanks to our sponsor once again, J&P Construction. So thank you, everyone, and have a great conference. As we bring another episode to a close here at Modex, we want to extend our gratitude to J&P Construction for their sponsorship of the podcast. If you're in need of top-notch, all-inclusive material handling solutions for logistics and commercial real estate, look no further than G&P Construction. Be sure to visit GANDPconstruction.com to discover your one-stop shop for turnkey MHE integrations.
Hi, I'm Ninad Acharya, CEO and co-founder of Fulfillment IQ, and I'm here with
Dan Call, CRO and partner at Fulfillment IQ. We're the team behind the Ecom Logistics podcast. Our mission is to provide you with genuine insights from our work alongside logistics leaders to help you improve your supply chain.
In the Ecom Logistics podcast, we share the knowledge and the insights we've gained from working alongside amazing brands, retailers, 3PLs, and VCs, so you can make the most out of your supply chain journey.
If you like what you're hearing, we'd truly appreciate your support with a 5-star rating on your favorite podcasting channel. Your feedback not only keeps us going, but also helps others find the podcast. If you think Fulfillment IQ can assist you, or if you have an idea related to logistics, just reach out to us on LinkedIn. We're always up for a chat and ready to explore new possibilities together.
Stay tuned to the Ecom Logistics podcast on your favorite podcast platform for fresh and practical insights into e-commerce and logistics. Until next time, let's keep making a difference.